All right, welcome back to Collegiate Call of Duty. My name is McCormiel, with me, Cash. We're on the Bravo stream to bring you the final match of the night. Again, we'll be live tomorrow, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But it is the final week of regulation play for the CCL season, which means that playoffs are just around the corner, and the LCQ is. Good news, Cash, is both of these teams are locked into the playoffs by virtue of being top 8 in Tier 1.
They are, so though that doesn't have for any exciting storylines, at the very least you can kind of just go tit for tat, and it'll be a good matchup to kind of see how playoffs are going to end up playing out once we get into these top tier teams. But yeah, nothing really on the line, just going out and really honing in on what they've been working on for playoffs.
Absolutely. Well, Texas State ranked number 13, Oklahoma State on the opposite side, unranked, but we'll meet the two teams. We'll look at records and We'll look at records in the knot that'll follow these two teams down the road and into the playoffs. Again, this is kind of a match, Cash, where we look at it and it's kind of deciding who's going to be the second to last in the ice cream portion of like the ice cream sandwich that is Tier 1. Because there's like 4 teams down at the bottom that are all like either 0 wins or 1 win and are going to be relegated to the LCQ. Then there's the middle portion that's not like your ASUs or your Westcliff Warriors that are at the top, but they're just kind of like sitting right there, like kind of in the middle. Just it's the nice ice cream portion of that ice cream sandwich. It's just like they're good, but without the other two, they wouldn't be anything special.
Yeah, that's a pretty good illustration. Just a good way to describe it. A nice ice cream sandwich going on, but at the least, Texas State still ranked number 13, and having a look at this head-to-head, not a lot of differences between these two squads. Obviously, Texas State having that edge across all 3 modes, but nothing so drastic that Oklahoma State can't come out and make a statement and, again, pull off an upset, kind of like the first match we did earlier tonight. If you're not playing for anything playoff-wise, at least go to knock them out of number 13, make them have to earn their spot in the top 25, and if I'm Oklahoma State, that's the spoiler role I'm trying to play tonight.
It would be an interesting upset, to say the least, but we'll look at the Texas State roster. Across the board, and Cash, this is a team that they always claim that they don't play together or practice together, and that's probably why they're still ranked 13th. But Tactics, Scripps, Draco, and Pandemic, this is a very scary team. Don't let the record fool you or the fact that they're in the middle of Tier 1 fool you. Texas State is a very strong roster. And although they might not have beat some, like your Westcliffs, your ASUs, they might not be at the top of their game all the time when it comes to those important matches in Tier 1. They are going to be a team that is going to compete for at least top 16 when it comes to playoff time. They are not somebody you want to trifle with, and you need to be very careful if you're Oklahoma State.
You do have to be careful if you're Oklahoma State. This squad, I couldn't have said it better myself, is a team that when they're on fire, which is, again, it's hard to play that way against the cream of the crop, but where they fit in their role and where they excel, they're a dangerous and hard team to beat. I mean, like you said, expect them to finish top 16, expect them to be able to pull off upsets even in the postseason. Anything can happen in playoffs, so expect the squad to also make some noise there. Of course, being number 13, how much more noise you have to make, but like you said, this is a very dangerous squad when they get rolling, which they have been.
Well, we'll take a look at the opposite side. For the side of Oklahoma State, here's the Cowboys roster. Starting off, you've got yourselves Royal, Jinja, Wilkish, Dakota. I've actually been waiting to cast over Jinja this season. I haven't gotten the ability to do so just yet. And I just remember last season there were some wild plays that he made throughout the course of Cold War when I was casting over the top of him that just were like, okay, this kid has like the ability to be a really good player. I just need to see that on a consistent basis. And this year has been a real step up for everybody on Oklahoma State. And if they can continue to push that in the playoffs, they could be one of the teams that maybe could cause an upset down the line, or at the very least just have a comparable run and at the end of the day be okay with where they finish.
They definitely could. A still solid all-around roster, and like you said, Jinja having that ability to be a superstar and pop off, but like you said, seeing that on a more consistent basis definitely solidifies that in not only your team's mind but everyone else's mind, but definitely a player to watch out for as we get into it tonight, and could definitely make waves in the series alone.
We'll take a look at our maps overall. Cash, you kind of highlighted this to me before we went into our series. This map set is going to be one that at least you like, and myself I like personally as well. We're not going to go to Gavutu. That's always a W. I love not seeing Gavutu. No Desert Siege for the Search and Destroy, so we won't be sleeping on the broadcast. We're going to start out with the Tuscan, go to Berlin for the S&D, a Tuscan on Control, Bocage, Hardpoint, get a bit mixy if we go to the distance to 4, and then of course need the distance to 5, and we'll see Tuscan for for the S&D. Overall, it's going to be a fun series. Hopefully, Oklahoma State can bring what they need to the table in order to beat Texas State instead of this matchup. It's going to be difficult, but I think they have the gumption that it takes to be able to overcome a beast.
They do. It takes kind of, I don't want to call this matchup a lull, but really for Texas State, again, whenever you highlighted at the top of the show that you're not really playing for playoff spots because that's locked. So you can kind of catch these better teams maybe taking it easy and trying just to, oh, we're just going to go out and get this game done. That's when you can catch them lacking and really put the pedal down and take a win. And Oklahoma State, like you said, they have the gumption to do it. And against a Texas State squad that's not playing for anything really at the moment, maybe you can take this win off going into the postseason and just have a really solid win as you go into playoffs.
Keys to success for Texas State, at least in my formal opinion, I think it's going to be taking those respawns over Oklahoma State as the most crucial thing. Obviously, Texas State has been dominant when it comes to respawn throughout the year. Their S&D is really good too, but again, at least for the side of the Bobcats, you have to more focus on your respawns than your S&D because, again, with a team that doesn't have as much practice as some other teams do, the S&D is going to be the one that struggles the most out of that. Now, I don't think that they're going to have much of a problem being able to play with one another and around each other in a search and destroy, but at the same time, I also do think that the respawns are going to be your most important thing overall in this series. So just basing everything ahead, at least for the side of Texas State, that's where I kind of lay right now. So just talking briefly about Tuscan here, overall, Cash, this is going to be a series that's going to take really a battle of attrition from Oklahoma State. Do you feel that when we look ahead to the rest of this best of five, that S&D could really be the breakthrough factor for Oklahoma?
It could be. I mean, sitting at 10-6 is not a record to sneeze at all, but having a look at the search and destroy in Berlin, if that's one that they can get on the board, knowing that Texas State needs to win their respawns, S&Ds win championship. Again, we're not playing for a championship, but the point of that is S&Ds win you series, and when it boils down to it, if Oklahoma State can take 2-3-5 or 2-4-5, I mean, if they come out and win this Tuscan, either way, if they can snag a respawn, I think they would feel pretty locked in the search and destroys. So for Oklahoma State, map number 2 is what they're going to be looking ahead at. Of course, you can't get too far ahead of yourself. They need to take care of business and give this Tuscan their best go. But Texas State, they've definitely got to be careful as we look ahead.
Cowboys, Bobcats, we're off to the races. P1 popped. First team that's going to be there is Oklahoma State. You look to the middle of the map. The arrows from Texas State are going to be starting to make their way in towards you. 2 kills go quickly to the side of Texas State. However, Wilkish will trade that back immediately, but it's a 4-1 trade, and Oklahoma State, unfortunately, are on the offside of it.
Texas State break in early to get control. 35 seconds left on P1, and positioned fairly well to cut these players in Oklahoma State off spawn and secure a really substantial amount of time for what is Tuscan P1. You see Oklahoma State players on the rotation winning this battle to start. No one for Texas State really thinking about it or too worried about it at the moment, though a couple players slip through the cracks. They are able to find one, but you're going to walk away with, about 40 seconds of time off the first hill. Unfortunately, that is at the expense of P2 spawn. So if you're Texas State, or if you're Oklahoma State, you're maybe satisfied with that, given that you trust your P2 hold, but just like that, Texas State, they're trying to make that rotation through Church and P4.
Gotta be careful, though, because player number 3 just spawned out across the map. So Royal's gonna have a foot race back across to the rest of the teammates to help out with reinforcements. It is Texas State, though, who are sprawling all the way across the back. I love the play here. It's kind of reminiscent of what you would see when a team's trying to hit the B site on the offensive side. Over towards us when we were playing control on Tuscan. Wilkish on the staircase will fall to the hands of Tactic, and that's gonna be everybody down for the side of Oklahoma State. So the Bobcats will break on in. Texas State should be able to get the remainder of the time here. It's been nothing but lights out so far on Tuscan, these old Bobcats.
And that came down to timing on that break. And if you're Oklahoma State, a fairly disappointing transition. You give up most of P1 to get broken in the first 10 seconds of P2. So an adjustment they'll have to make going forward if they want to get any substantial amounts of time. Once again, Texas State already quick on that rotation, and winning gunfights on transition, 2 players set up in the back with roof spawns is definitely going to be a good thing going into P3. Yeah, you get scrap time for Oklahoma State, but if they can get a full 60 on this, that could be devastating for the scoreline. Oklahoma State, they're there to contest from the front.
Oh, just needed one more kill there, but Pandemic gets over aggressive, peeks up in the back without the rest of the teammates there for a trade. So now if you're Scripps, you're sitting on the head glitch. You got peeled off of it the last time through. Royal with the AR is going to be what hits you from the front of the hill. So Oklahoma State has done a really good job of being able to claw their way back here on P3 specifically. They got the initial break. They found themselves in, and now it's Royal who's on a 5 spree, looking for 2 more to potentially get streaks for the side of Oklahoma State. But right now it's a 2-point game. They're about to have a lead change. They're going to get themselves directly at a head-to-head game, 63 apiece with 25 seconds left on the hill.
Props to Oklahoma for responding the way they did. After getting broken on P2, they hold for majority of the hill here on P3, and like you said, players start getting warm and start streaking. Royal ends up getting chopped down, but once again back on a 2 streak, and I guess you could say they have rotation for P4, but with 3 players flying across the map for Texas State, these gunfights really could go either way, and that's going to be real telling of this initial bit of P4 time.
12-6 so far for Royal. Standout player on the side of Oklahoma State, really nobody else is being able to step up to the task. How about their teammate? However, we are still just about an even game. Texas State will take themselves their second lead of the game. As they break on in towards the hill once again, it's the side of Texas State who win the majority of their gunfights. They wavered a bit on P3, but here on P4, they're standing tall, at least for the moment being. Reinforcements are there. Break back in towards the point. Scripps will find the first. You look around towards that right side. Dakota now in. Royal's going to be there for help as well. 2-2, you go back and forth. A beautiful fight on towards the top. Tactic will stay alive down towards the bottom, looking for one more. Second one comes in from the doorway. Contest in, and with 20 seconds left, it's still madness here in the bottom of the church.
And this is the kind of gameplay that Tuscan can afford you. It is a mid-sized map, so you do have some foot races to hills, but you can also get punished if you aren't rotating. Right now with either squad, they've shown their ability to break into hills, even if they don't have rotation there. Oklahoma State do a great job at contesting, but now they're just trying to hold on for rotation, which we have yet to see in this hard point. And 2 for 1 in the feed to kick things off. Players have to work their way back, and a split spawn coming in for Texas State could spell trouble on the pinch, as now they have clearance on the hill for the time being.
Flying up the staircase, you sniff out the flank from Dakota. That's 2 for Scripps. Royal and Ginger, though, from the front, are going to be able to break on in. Pandemic, who is playing a flank angle on the staircase as well, will get cut down. Scripps falls too. So that's everybody from the side of Texas State off the board. Oklahoma State will find themselves time inside of P5, and now you can set up on a couple of head glitches and make sure you push out the spawn side to force the side of Texas State as far away from the hill as humanly possible while you go ahead and collect all that tasty time. 20 seconds left. Tactic will break in. It's a 1 versus 1 back towards the point. Again, that goes to the hands of Royal. It's only going to be one more player that's going to push it around the corner, and Draco will lose that engagement off screen. So with 10 seconds left, we'll go to our second set of rotations back over towards our first hard point here on Tuscan.
Texas State in control, gonna try to lock down the same, if not more. There's not much more time in P1 for them to lock down than they did the last go around, getting well over 35 seconds of time. If you're Oklahoma State, you've got to find a way to get in this early and not chalk it up for spawns before it's too late. You ended up getting broken on P2 the last go around as well, so I'd like to see them fight for this a bit more. But as far as slaying goes, I mean, it's about even across the board. Of course, some players a little more lopsided than others, but I'd say it shakes out fairly even looking at this. So it's just been a matter of decision making and ability to break into hills. Texas State, they've done just that. They've shown that they can win the rotations, and they're also taking care of business when they need to break into a hill and find themselves on the back foot. Oklahoma State, they're hanging in there though, only down about 15 points, but once again finding themselves unable to get into this P1. Now just 20 seconds left.
Reminiscent of our first hill of the game, it was Texas State who got the lion's share of time at P1. We're able to get the rotations out towards P2. This time, though, it's Pandemic who's going to be set up all the way on that back truck, looking for a few players coming off a spawn. Royal over towards the left. Top player inside of Radio will fall to the hands of Draco as well. So now you can start pushing this out, knowing that you have those backside spawns, but they don't actually realize that Jinja's all the way in the back lines. So he's going to wait for the players to come off spawn. He's going to be able to find the first. That's going to be 2 together. Pandemic up in the top of Radio might be able to shut that down, but the spawns are going to be there from Oklahoma State, so they're going to be able to break over towards this hill. 15 seconds off of it. Pandemic goes big over the tops, and that's 3 nice kills that come in quick succession, and a 4th one to fall as well. That cuts them off spawn, flips them all the way out across the map, and they still got 35 seconds of luscious time.
It was a clean kill feed that got them into P2 early on as well. So really a cookie cutter second set of hills to start through P1 and P2. Texas State now extending their lead out to about 60, 70 points. This is about where it was the last go around. It was Oklahoma who were able to respond and hold the hill from the front the last go around that got them back in this game. But with Texas State not only winning on rotation, but also getting every bit of scrap time, they have now crossed the 200-point mark. They could win on this hill. Oklahoma State, they have to go big if they want to stay in this.
Beautiful shot there from Scripps, who's now on 8 in a row. Full streaks now for Scripps, as well as Pandemic, who's also on 7. Two players from Texas State taking it upon themselves, having the liberty to not only pop off at P2, but on the rotation over towards P3. Scripps will continue it going. 9 in a row, finally will fall, but it's still Pandemic, who's on 8 now across the map. He'll finally fall on the backside spawn, but the damage has been done, Cash. 216 to 122, and with 35 seconds left on this hill, yeah, it'd be a great time for Oklahoma State to get, but they still got to manage to at least string 2 hills together if they want to have a chance to win this game.
Texas State got 40 seconds between P1 and P2, granting them the 80-point lead that we see now. What was a close scoreline going into the second set of rotations, Texas State took the liberty of blowing wide open. They have been playing much cleaner hardpoint than their opponents in the Cowboys. Oklahoma State, they're going to get the last bit of scrap time, except for the fact that Draco is going to pop in and say, nah, not as clean as you'd like. Now in rotation to P4, once again, Texas State, they did win it this last go-round, but with a 3v1 on the hill and players spawning out for Texas State, they should get this initial bit of time. You just got to focus one hill at a time. If you're Oklahoma State, chip away bit by bit where you can, and it starts with clearing these players off the hill.
That's such a punch in the face, you know, rotating early, having 3 players set up at next, and then just pushing old for scraps and being able to win the one-on-one, and then come back and then win the gunfights on the rotation into the bottom of the church. It's just hard to be able to muster if you are Oklahoma State, but 2 good kills. They're all going to start flooding in through the side doors. Fortunately, you're going to be able to win the one-on-one engagement there with the automaton, so you'll live to fight another couple of seconds here. However, it's Texas State who only need 13 seconds to be able to close out map 1 and take a 1-0 advantage inside of this series. So really, no matter where you look, it's the guns, it's the arrows, it's the blazing tactics of Texas State Esports. And as they get in towards this point, really all it's going to take now is winning a few more engagements towards the front. Counting down from 5, 4, 3. It's the last contestation here, a one-on-one gunfight. That's going to be GG's to map number 1, 250 to 162. Texas State triumphant on Tuscan.
It really opened up with the second set of rotations where they won majority of the time on P1 and P2 and didn't look back. That's what kind of sealed the deal for them. From then, Oklahoma State was fighting off the back foot, and where they could get any bit of time, it just wasn't cutting into that deficit. End up losing by 90 points, but that was a tied game as we had just crossed the century mark. But a couple of players for Texas State having really good performances. Draco, you know, nothing too crazy at 27 and 25, but still a good score line to have. Pandemic and Scripps, 31 and 19, 29 and 13 as well. Those are the 2 standout respawn performances that we needed to see. And a great job from them to close out map 1 and to go up 1-0 in the series.
You know, on the opposite side, though, yeah, it was a great game from Texas State, sure, but you look to Oklahoma State, and my 2 questions is, 1, who's going to help Royal out in this next search and destroy? And then 2, how the hell was this basically a tied game going into the second set of rotations when it was like 130 to 130, when everybody except for Royal was negative by at least like 6 or 7 kills? That was impressive, at least to me, because it showed that Texas State, a couple of the kills that they were getting were empty kills, and Oklahoma State were still being able to scrap back over towards the points. It was just kind of that halfway point where they didn't lose the fight. They were just losing a lot of their engagements, and that's when they finally started to really pound it home for Texas State, because when you're not being able to win gunfights to get into the hill, you're not going to be able to extend your lead any further. And especially when we got back to 1, 2, and 3, where Texas State had grown that lead out significantly early on in the game, it just led down to a spiraling slope of denial for Oklahoma State in that game. So that's kind of where we're left now after map number 1. But we go into the Berlin Search and Destroy. Both of these teams still looking to get ahead instead of the series. More importantly for Texas State, obviously Oklahoma State, you're just trying to get your first map on the board in this best of 5. Cash, going into a Berlin S&D with Texas State and how good they were inside of map 1, what needs to change from Oklahoma State?
For Oklahoma State, again, like you said, they were finding kills around the map, and even though 3 out of 4 players went negative, they were still finding effective kills. You don't have to outslay to get a win. You just have to find kills at the right time and place on the map. Now, in hardpoint, as the game goes on, you need to start finding more kills than just that on transition, because at some point, like you said, it's going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back, and you've just got to be able to win gunfights at some point to get significant amounts of time. So it was impressive that they hung into it that long. So for the search and destroy, it's that same kind of thing. Seeing players on rotation, even if you can't get the kill, at least relaying that information. So if you're not able to get the first blood, at least playing around the information that you have. I mean, obviously Berlin is played so run-of-the-mill as far as you have someone hop up on back roof where P4 is. catch across to A, that gives you your information to B, and so it's just counting heads and making sure your comms are clean. If Oklahoma State can do that, I trust that they can kind of get the kills going in the slower S&D, and that'll come to them. But if you keep the comms clean, at least you'll have the information if you're not able to outslay.
I mean, even to add on top of that, with a slower pace that Oklahoma State could play at the same time, I do think they found a lot of success and a lot of triumph when they were playing extremely aggressive, namely P5 pops into my mind because they just kept pounding the hill over and over and over again. There was multiple people every single time, just double challenging, baiting and switching, sliding around the corners, running up the staircase, being able to win those one-on-one engagements most of the time, and if not, at least trading for those kills, and it looked really good for Oklahoma State on that first rotation.
Yeah.
That just kind of went out the window as the game kept progressing from that spot on. But the aggression still worked from Oklahoma State. When you even going to P4, you can talk about inside of the church. When they kept flooding the doors, yeah, maybe if it was one person flooding, sure, you're going to get cut down by 2 to 3 people looking at you. But when you're pushing 2 through the back door, 2 through the side door, it's multiple players that have to look everywhere at every given time. And especially since you're waiting for your teammates to come off spawn, it was perfect for me. So I want to see aggression here on Berlin. It can be difficult at times to have aggression on Berlin. But if Oklahoma State can do that, they can easily tie the series up at 1 apiece.
I agree with you. And really the places on the map you see aggression on Berlin would be kind of bullying out that A bomb site where it's a lot of indoor. Like you said, if you have to force heads to turn and look a lot of directions, odds are you can kind of win those gunfights a little bit easier if they aren't expecting it. You can do the same thing on the B bomb site. We see a bait and switch right there to kick off for a first blood. Player 4 and Royal baits out for Jinja, who jumps around the corner and gets a kill. Now they get clearance on the bomb site, and bomb goes down. So a really clean first blood from them. Pandemic is able to even it up, but that's what we're talking about with. That's the kind of gameplay that Oklahoma State brings.
It's nice. Concite though. 3 versus 2. 25 seconds left to go ahead, retake the site, as well as get the defusal on the bomb. Royal from over the top will be able to find one. Tactic out towards that left side will give away that he is going to be using the sniper here if he does take a shot at somebody. Still a player inside of that B-bomb site. You don't want to push up just yet, but as you do, Jinja's around the corner with the MP40. Takes your head off, send you to the next round. A 1-0 lead for Texas State. Excuse me, for Oklahoma State is going to allow them to open the search and destroy up a bit to where they can kind of dictate where they want to do on this next defensive round.
For Oklahoma State, you want to try to mount as much of a lead as you can. Give yourself as much cushion to put this one away as possible. Jinja starting out 2-0 is always a good thing going into a defensive round, especially getting an offensive win on the board on Berlin. Not the easiest feat. Definitely one of the easier S&D maps to get offensive wins, but nonetheless, Texas State, they have to find a way to answer on their first offensive crack. And they're going to look to go towards this B site. A 2v2 split over here is tactic with the sniper out. Trying to have a look and get any kind of information on where these Oklahoma State players might be, and they aren't given anything. So if they're trying to work a pick before they get the bomb down, they're going to be sitting for a while.
Lucky to get away with your life there if you are Scripps. But you know now at least where one player is. Stunning out the bomb site, trying to get some information on where you are. First blood, though, going to go to the hands of Draco. Texas State now going to have a 1 life advantage. And as Scripps pops out over towards that right side, going to be able to find the first, tries to snap to the second, and will find it as well. 2 big kills over towards that B site. Now it's Jinja, left all alone in a 1 versus 4. You're on a 2-spree, and unfortunately, you've already been spotted out. The information is there. They know exactly where you are on the map and can just play back cat and mouse.
2 clean offensive rounds from either squad. I don't even know that Oklahoma State lost a life the last round, but either way, very good decisive rounds over at this B bomb site. Interested to see how Oklahoma State opt to take this one. You know, why fix it if it's not broken? Is that the angle that they take and try to go to B? It's really interesting in Search and Destroy, trying to figure out when to switch it up, because you don't want to give the other team an easy read. It's just such a fun little game of cat and mouse as far as decision making goes. Do you get the blind counter right? Lots to wait and see for in Search and Destroy, but for Oklahoma State, it's going to be the same thing. Why fix it if it's not broken? We're going to get all 4 players. We're going to run over the site. Texas State, they're going to have a retake unless they can find some critical picks.
Tactic's going to spot that out, but that should give the information over on the bomb site. It's just so quiet right now. Scripps is just waiting for that door to open or somebody to come around through that side door. Jinja doesn't want to do it just yet. Going to shoot the corner. Scripps is going to realize that Jinja's at the front. Doesn't see him rotate back over towards the left. Should snap onto the right and will. So that's 2 kills down quickly off the board. Oklahoma State now in a 2v-odd situation. 50 seconds left. And now once again, it's Wilkish. This time himself in a 1 versus 4.
And for Oklahoma State, you took too long to make a move on the B bomb site. That allowed Texas State players to clear out the A site, clear out long and P4, make the rotation and say, well, process of elimination tells me they've got to be, this is the only place they could be. And now you force your players to fight on two fronts. Texas State making a good defensive play, implementing their own aggression and clearing out the map quickly. For Oklahoma State, it was just too slow of a move. You let Texas State clear out too much of the map and really just deduct down to where you had to be.
2 quick rounds for Texas State off the back of multiple first bloods. Tactic has yet to find use with the sniper in terms of kills, but it is locking down specific lanes and forcing Oklahoma State into situations that they don't necessarily want to be in. He starts taking this bomb over towards that B site. Tactic just sit inside of this back site here. Look for anybody getting a bit too feisty over towards that right side. Well, Royal's going to be the first one up to bat. Unfortunately, it's a strikeout there, as Tactic will rip him off the map. 4 versus 3, and another first blood here for Texas State is going to give them the man advantage yet again.
Bomb is down in B, so for Oklahoma, that is a small win in this round. They have to clear out that in order to get it planted. Unfortunately, kills have not been going your way on the offensive rounds. If you are the defensive team, it's been fairly clean rounds. Now a 2v3 situation. But again, for Oklahoma State, you have that bomb down in the site. They have to clear that out and find these players in order to retrieve that. And with 40 seconds left, they've got to look to make a play. And for Oklahoma State, Jinja playing very well in the mid-map, just kind of spinning these players around. What they thought they had information about, they no longer do. Probably going to guess one person's in the site, but unless they jump in to play the trade, this could be a clutch-up round for Oklahoma.
Wolkish in the corner. That is beautiful Call of Duty right there from Texas State. They know that they need to get the bomb down in B, but they don't want to take solo gunfights, so they push 2 different angles at the same time. And beforehand, it was Wilkish in a 1 versus 4. Jinja had a 1 versus 4 of his own. Let's see if he can clutch up in a 1v3. You spot Tactic out towards the right side. You're going to be able to win that gunfight. Unfortunately, though, you don't realize where that other player is out by the docks. And then the second one to your left on the tank head glitch. That's just such a difficult gunfight to take, especially with an MP40. And you take yourself another round loss. So now it's going to be a 3-1 lead for Texas State. Cash, any sort of inclinations of ideas of what they could do to spice things up to get a round on the board for themselves for the first time in 3?
It's doing what they did the first round that got them the round win. You have to play with, again, you alluded to it before we even came into this S&D, like whenever they play with aggression, they find success in that. It was a simple bait and switch on the B bomb site, but they used their speed and tempo to get across the map and get over there quickly, catch Texas State off guard. Texas State opt to play the retake over at B. That information's caught out. All 3 arrows are coming back over to help Tactic out. But again, they have to make this play quickly. They need to get the bomb down to really force Texas State to have to make a play. And if you kill too much time, you'll see what you saw last round, which is Texas State working through, deducting the map and giving them nowhere to go.
Fortunately for Oklahoma State, it was Texas State who sent 3 players over towards A, trying to read an aggressive push offensively from Oklahoma State. It's only going to leave them with 30 seconds left to try and get all 4 kills, and of course that bomb defusal. They don't realize that 2 players are actually inside of the site, though, so Tactics looking around the back, going to try to look to the top of the train on the head glitch. Now just as a pistol to push in towards the site, and there's 2 players playing corner. Stun's going to be out, you're going to be able to check it. Royal all the way in the back. Now it's Tactic who finds a kill as well on the offensive side. It's Wilkish, though, last alive in a 1 versus 2. It would be a technical 1v3, just sitting inside the site. You got the kill over towards the left, almost able to get it. Fortunately enough, though, for Texas State, you get the kill in just the nick of time and are able to get that defused to come through as well with just a second left on the clock. A beautiful retake there from Texas State and a 4th straight round off of Oklahoma State's unfortunate timing.
Oklahoma State, like you had said, with unfortunate timing, but they did what they needed to on the offensive end as far as making a quicker play, getting the bomb down. Unfortunately, you have players fall in the back. That just makes it that much harder. It allows Texas State to have that much easier of a time making a pinch play develop on the site. Oklahoma State, again, comes down to gunfights. If your players stay alive in the back, that's a much different retake situation. Like you said, Oklahoma State are just putting themselves in unfavorable situations and making it harder on themselves than maybe at times it needs to be. But props to Texas State for coming in and playing lights out S&D to start. No player negative on the Texas State squad, and they have won 4 straight rounds.
Well, I thought he was going to be licking concrete for a couple more seconds, but goes ahead, lays down, takes down Royal with the snipe as well at the same time. So another first blood to Texas State. Bomb will go down over towards A. They've got so much attention from the defensive side over towards that B zone. And now on the rotation across the map, it's just going to be so difficult to get there with just the little amount of time that they have.
And these 2 players are maybe I thought gonna trail and read Jinja's route, but a possible pinch developing on the site. It's gonna be Tactics still sitting way back and watching someone coming through B, but no one's left on that side of the map. So really,
It's gonna be faster.
a 3v1 on the site, but Pandemic wins a huge gunfight. Now a 3v2, make that a 3v1. If you're Oklahoma State, I know you didn't know it. You had the man advantage. You couldn't win the gunfights. That's what's costing them these rounds. That's why Texas State have won 5 straight, now sitting at match point to go up 2-0 in the series.
I mean, I get you don't rotate through middle, you don't try to flank around and get those last couple of players that are starting to straggle through the train station. But I mean, just getting back around through your spawn, you know where the bomb is planted for. It's planted for your side, so you can play with your teammates on the defensive side over towards to where the defensive side spawns. So you basically flip the map around for yourselves, and then it's just picking off one by one the players that are going to be trying to fly at you. Because Texas State, with how far again they were across the map, they just had no time to be able to attack that A site again. So Pandemic in the middle of the map, 6 in a row, has the shooty pilot, as Cruz would say, to work with. Unfortunately, you really can't use that, obviously on this map, but kind of in general because of G8. So Royal down below, sitting in the corner, staircase potentially. Gonna have a few players trying to go on it. Glide bomb, though, earned for Pandemic. Gonna use it towards that outer A site. You're gonna be able to get yourself and a teammate with it. 1 versus 2 for the game for Royal to keep yourselves alive here on Berlin. It's going to be very difficult to do, but at least you have the bomb in your hand. You look around that left side corner. They're both in the bomb site, and the shots from behind the window are going to cut you down as well. So Texas State makes it look easy on Berlin. A map that could have went Oklahoma State's way, unfortunately lands in their adversaries, and now they're down 0-2 in the series.
We said this was one Oklahoma State. 1 had a better shot, but 2 needed to take in this series, and this really could have, like you had mentioned, been an indicator of what we could expect as the series had gone on. Now, sitting at series point going into the control, where Texas State is 9-3, this one's looking pretty daunting for Oklahoma State to come back from. A couple of no one getting any more than 3 kills in the search and destroy. I thought at the end that hardpoint got blown out, which it did, but this one wasn't even close off the jump. Texas State take advantage and don't look back.
I mean, Cash, when you have the entirety of Oklahoma State totaling up to the amount of kills that Pandemic had by himself across the board in search and destroy, it's definitely going to be a bit of an eyesore when you go back and look at it as a team. So hopefully they can take some of the things inside of this S&D and really start to either work towards what they want to do in playoffs, or just at least fix what is broken in the S&D. And if you're wondering what is broken in the S&D, well, Cash has highlighted it multiple times. But again, it's the aggression. There is a general sense of want to push the map out if you are Oklahoma State. The problem is the execution upon that. Specifically when you go over towards that B site, you're trying to look in towards the bomb site, maybe find that first blood. You're a little shy because you don't want to peek a potential sniper lane, but at the same time, you got to get one of those kills if you want to be able to push into the site. It's going to come down to a lot more team pushes. Again, there was a great bait and switch. It was phenomenal, but it was only 1 time throughout the entirety of the S&D when it was in the first round. After that point, it was 6 straight rounds for Texas State. Nothing looked back, and it was multiple 1v3s, 1v4s that Oklahoma State just couldn't clutch up in. They had 1 offensive round that looked really good, and it was a 4 versus 3. Unfortunately, Texas State Esports completely wiped the board with them and then got the defuse with about 8 seconds left. So there's a lot of things that can be worked on for Oklahoma State, but I mean, Cash, it's been a very one-sided affair in this series so far.
It has been, and even just to wrap up the final points of that search and destroy, the first bloods column, Oklahoma State had 2 first bloods in the entire search and destroy, and everyone for the side of Texas State had at least 1 first blood. Pandemic had 5. So that's also a place you can look to start is winning first bloods. Jinja had both first bloods for Oklahoma State. One of those came in the rounds that they won, and that was the first round. So again, you can look at multiple different things. Whenever you lose a map badly, I know it's easy to look at this wrong and this wrong and this wrong, but really and simply it comes down to, as you were even saying and as we've been talking about this entire time, for Oklahoma State, they want to move around the map well, and they want to clear out those things. It's just they've been lacking kind of that ability to do that, and whenever they play aggressive, they almost seem to like backtrack and play with the slow tempo, like we saw Texas State make a retake over on that B bomb site because they just wouldn't lay the bomb down. They didn't feel comfortable with site control. So just having a bit more confidence in your gameplay as well. That comes down to gunfights, decision making. That can cover a plethora of things. So for Oklahoma State, they've got to come out in this control. It is back on Tuscan, but they've got to come out and really, again, there has to be like a confidence change for me, just a mental regain of, you know what, let's just go out and, yeah, I'm going to chow that. Yeah, I'm going to, because why not? Worst case scenario, lose it.
Yeah.
Well, I've been losing them all series, so I may as well just give it a go and see what happens. I mean, honestly, you just got to, why not? Get a little, and that put up some wind in your sails. You never know what could happen.
Sure. Well, you hope that Oklahoma State can turn their series around, or at least attempt to start the reverse sweep, because they're going to have to if they want to even have a chance in the series. Texas State, again, they come in as the number 13th ranked team. Obviously, they're there for a reason, but we will see a Tuscan control on the opposite of a break. When we come back, myself and Cash will walk you through what Oklahoma State needs to do and how Texas State can close this map out in 3. We'll see you on the other side. Don't go anywhere. Well, it was a short break, but we're back. Texas State looking to close out a 3-0 series over Oklahoma State and giving themselves a lot of momentum going into the playoffs. Again, both of these teams are complete locks to make it into the CCL playoffs for this season. Again, they avoided the bottom 4 of their Tier 1 division here in the Midwest region. So, Cash, where that leaves us is a game that's important in a general sense because these teams are tied in records. But at the end of the day, it's more or less just to see who has that smidge easier road when it does eventually come into playoffs in terms of the teams that they're going to be playing up against.
Yeah, it'll give us insight into that, but more so here, it's Texas State making a case for why they should climb up in the rankings. You know, you've talked about how maybe this team doesn't play together all that much, and, you know, maybe that's why they've kind of been in a stagnant position in the CCL top 25. But, I mean, you can continue to make that case, especially in this last week here. Maybe they'll slide up to top 10, who knows? But they're trying to make that case tonight, and they're definitely doing that against this Oklahoma State squad. They came out, closed out the hard point in dominant fashion, and it's been dominant since then. The Search and Destroy came out and won 6 rounds straight to close that one out and go up 2-0 here on the Tuscan Control. They're looking to replicate the same thing to close it out here. So a really solid gameplay from Texas State tonight. I've liked what I've seen.
Yeah, it's looked really good. It's looked polished, which is something that we can sometimes see out of Texas State, but it's not the norm every time that they go up against some of the teams that they play against. We can see that in terms of their overall record. They have a couple of blemishes on there, but again, you are in a very difficult division overall. You've got teams like Ottawa, ICC, ASU, the Hilltoppers are in there, Longhorn Gaming, Westcliff University. It's not one of those, you know, so washy Tier 1 divisions where, you know, maybe top 6 is pretty much achievable at all times. No, this is a dogfight division where we have multiple teams in the top portions of the CCL rankings on a week-to-week basis. So, Jinjo going to be by himself in radio. There's actually 3 people that are all going to be pushing out towards him. He's going to be able to find the first one in towards Tactic, Pandemic, the second one there. 2 lives are already off the board and a great offensive break, or excuse me, a defensive break for Oklahoma State. Scripps is just forced to play in a corner by himself. Might get snuffed out here by player number 7 and Jinja, and finally Will. So that's 4 lives immediately off the board, and now an offensive push over towards A for Texas State.
They won their gunfights and their 1v1s where maybe they had been losing those on transition previously in the hard point. They win those on their first offensive hold. That grants Texas State clearance on the A site to now get 2 ticks of progression in. Draco was 3-0, now has fallen with this last bit coming in slowly but surely with just 1 player left. Pandemic's going to do his best to hold these players back until the reinforcements can come in, or he'll just capture the rest of the A point by himself. Oklahoma State, they're going to chalk it up and play for the roof P5 cutoff and hold off for church.
I mean, you should have read the kill feed. They had numbers there for a second. So if you wanted to chow that from the off angle on the north side of the map, you could have if you were Oklahoma State. But I do like the challenge to go ahead and set up for a B. Obviously, you don't want to lose an offensive round here on Tuscan right off the rip. That would not bode well for a win here in Control. But, you know, it's not, at the end of the day, not doable. Either way, though, Scripps going to be out on the plateau. Tactic there as well. Fortunately there for Texas State. Everybody's going to get cleaned up here in just a moment, or at least I thought so. Okay, yeah. If Scripps would have won that gunfight, I would have left my room because that would have been, well, words I can't say.
Yeah, Scripps has been on one the entire series too. Again, 2 and 3 isn't that crazy, but really from the hard point on has also been playing well. Pandemic, what was a 10-1 performance in the Search and Destroy, looking to try to catch fire here. And another respawn, the push, a little spread coming through P5 and Church. Player 3 and Tactics trying to get control in the back, and if he can get the kill on Wilkish here, that could spell huge for their next push. Really just a little tit for tat back and forth dance they're doing. Pinstripe kill feed everywhere else on the map, so no clear clearance yet. Royal picks up 2, and that definitely nullifies that push.
See, it was an off-screen engagement, but on the mini-map, I watched Royal whip around, do a 180, and then absolutely poop on scripts. That was delicious. Either way, though, Jinja across the map. This isn't Fortnite. 4 in a row. That was low-hanging fruit. That was not I don't know why you gave me a pity laugh for that. That was terrible.
Oh, man.
But it works. It works the same way. So 16-5. This has been a wonderful offensive round for Texas State. If you can't tell, I'm being quite facetious when I say that. Everybody on their side is negative. It's been all defense from the very beginning to this point on. Royal is 8-2. Jinja has still yet to die.
Jinja's just been playing P5, and it hasn't been a problem because Texas State never gave that a look. They tried to push through mid-map and radio and mostly P4. Jinja was just hanging out, and it was happy to do so, shooting players in the back that are coming out of radio. And, well, you're on 5 in a row, as well as another player for Oklahoma State. If you can get streaks on the board, maybe invest 1 here on an offensive round. It'll just depend on how the round's going for them. But for Oklahoma State, this is quite the start for you.
Double fives. Royal Jinja streaking together. Offensive round, though, is going to be much more difficult to be able to overcome here against the Texas State roster. However, it's going to be a 4-man hit directly through the B building here. Draco's going to get some information with the stunner, or at least I thought was going to. It was beautiful, snaps onto the second. Now down the staircase, at least knows there's going to be 3 people over towards that B site. But now if you're Oklahoma State, you have 2 options. You can start flooding back over towards B and risk losing tons of lives to not get much progress, or you can force the defensive team to rotate over towards B, which is exactly what they've done, and then start your capture of A.
And just before they get streaks, both Jinja and Royal fall. They get clearance on the B site for Texas State, and now the rotation game underway over on the A site. Lots of clearing to do, but it's Texas State opting to get aggressive in the mid-map and cut these players off to nullify reinforcements coming in for their last player in Wilkish left on the point. They do that for the time being, but an all-white kill feed coming in for Oklahoma State. They should get good time here before anyone looks to contest for Texas State. Maybe they'll contest it one more time, but with that last tick coming in now, they're going to chalk it up. It's Oklahoma State's turn to do what Texas State couldn't enough, get this B site captured, or even just get 1 tick of progression.
Well, they got themselves a live lead. So much more doable here, especially with 1:45 left. They're going to have a couple solid pushes. So they need to capitalize on them as soon as humanly possible and at least get 1 to 2 ticks on that site before about the 35-point mark, because once you get there, that's when things really start to look grim for an offensive team making pushes. Here goes, though. Play number 5 going to be the first one out. Scripps from behind 1. We'll jump back around that left side corner. You know that there's going to be an instantaneous challenge. It's just such a difficult gunfight to win, especially when you don't have that jump peak advantage. So Oklahoma State, to their advantage. Now we're going to be able to push on out. Royal up and towards the top of the radio buildings. We'll find the trade. However, Scripps is there to go ahead and do him 1 up. 2-2 back and forth into the spawn side. Texas State will have numbers off the respawn.
And they have someone back in P5, which is just that much harder and cutting off the lifeline of Oklahoma State getting back to the site. Their hits have been through P5 to start, and with 55 seconds left, just down 1 life. This is possible, and you could give it another look through P4 as they are spawning up on the north side of the map. Maybe a 2-2 split coming in, but no opening granted. They don't know it, but they do have clearance in the back that would force Texas State to have to rotate and make a play there with the 2 players coming through Church and Alley now. If they can get the kills, it could be the opening that they need, but that's the oh-so-critical part, is finding those kills, getting your teammates up with you, and stacking the site.
Royal making a long flank around the back, missed a couple of first shots, but was able to finish the kill on the Scripps. 9-12, 20 seconds left as you're trying to break back over onto this point. Big kill there from Wilkish. Scripps is going to be pushing all the way towards the back with a big kill onto Dakota. Now you go 1-for-1 trade, you clear out your spawn, the rats are gone. However, it's 2 quick kills now to the side of Oklahoma State. Back over towards the point, they stack it with one another. You got to look to radio though, play number 3 is there, but here comes Dakota to the rescue as you've got him from behind. Now it's 6-6. First tick of progress over towards the B site. You got to look to the ramp. It's player number 5 though, Wilkish. You start to make a flank over through the bottom of the church. You get the first, you get the second weak, but a team kill there from Royal might have just stalled the round out to a halt, and it does. And with just 10 seconds left, there's not enough time to get across the map. If the team kill doesn't come through, you got to think Oklahoma State taking offensive round there, but it's Texas State who hold on by a hair follicle.
Texas State holds on, and look at this.
What in the Kobe?
Kill. I mean, heaved that.
What in the Kobe?
I think from outer P1, honestly from spawn maybe. That thing flew for a while. Had some air on it, but Oklahoma State, it was in the search and destroy. They put themselves in unfavorable positions with their decision making and timing here. They shoot themselves in the foot, literally, by getting a team kill. And so where you have control of situations or have an opportunity to make a play happen, you find a way to give it up. It's really unlucky from Oklahoma State. Fortunately for them, though, that does only tie it up on 1. It's not like they're down 0-2 or anything. You just would have liked to have had that offensive round. That's not the case. It's a clean hit and stack for Texas State on this A site, and they opened things up early.
You know what I was thinking, Cash? While I was watching that nade, I was thinking in the back of my mind, what if Ryan's free cams were that good? If only, right?
If only we could get that kind of coverage.
Look, I don't care. Ryan's still going to keep catching strays on the Bravo stream, and I do not care. But 2 life advantage to Texas State. Halfway through the last tick of progress on that A site, looking for that extra minute. It would be 2:10 to work with here if they were able to go ahead and find it all. Around the corner, it's going to be Scripps there. A beautiful flank by Draco, was able to knock down a couple. You're able to go ahead and make a pinch play last for the final trade. Now as you can start pushing up the map, Scripps forces Wilkish to back off into the church, and now it's Royal who is forced to play an awkward corner and not have a head glitch to his name as an MP40 is going to be pushing him close.
I'm really interested to see how Jinja looks to play this defensive round. I mean, just look at his arrow, just roaming roof, almost like an NPC, just back and forth like a set course. Finally going to collapse back onto the site now that players are on it, but Texas State, they haven't sniffed that out and cleared him out on roof. That allows him to pinch on the site and pop a 2-piece to clear the B site for teammates to come back in, and look, he's just going to clear back out P5, go back over to roofs, and play cutoff man. A wonderful job, and that's what's given Oklahoma State so much success on defense. Texas State, if they want an offensive win, they've got to find Jinja and get him killed.
1 life disparity. Minute and 22. Here they come into that P5 site. 3 arrows there. Scripps playing a corner inside a church, waiting for the rest of the team to make their way across the map. Could prove to be the most crucial play in a pinch that could maybe win them this offensive round, but it's a pinstripe kill feed that goes back and forth. Already, you've just got 2 players left here. If you are the side of Texas State, Oklahoma State's going to spawn oh so close. Scripps is going to be there for 1, whips around and finds a second. Royal up and towards the top. Maybe, just maybe, a snap onto the player up there. The answer, unfortunately, though, for the time is going to be no. So Texas State, it was a great attempt. Fortunately enough, though, for Oklahoma State, you snuffed that one out, you shut it down, and now it's going to be another push here from Texas State, only with 3 players.
Scripps popping the 2-piece there to stay alive was great for them. Like you said, Oklahoma State take care of business and shut this down. Now in their current hit, Texas State are just trying to get these kills. Staying alive in the back is Pandemic, just waiting for reinforcements, but with 25 seconds left, lives don't matter at this point. It's trying to stay up for teammates to get here. Pandemic does find 1 in L. Wilkish will be ready for him to round that corner, and with not enough time to get back to the hill, it's going to be Texas State who are unfortunately able to capitalize on offense. Not only that, but Oklahoma State, as we gear towards this round 5, they do have the tick advantage to start.
I mean, respawn, or rather, the S&D aside, respawns have been really good for Oklahoma State in their own subtle ways. Obviously, the hardpoint wasn't that good, but a standout performance from Royal in both the hardpoint and here inside of the control have been very, very strong positives, at least in my mind. Because when you have one player that can consistently build a resume in respawn, all it takes is a couple of players to start really figuring it out for themselves to then help you out around the map, and that's when you can get really scary in respawn. And I think a couple players, specifically Dakota, is close to being able to do that, at least here on Tuscan early on. But I think this whole team is really close to having a breakthrough moment for themselves, and I think once they get over that hump, they could be very scary. It's just going to take a little bit more practice. Maybe not this season, maybe next season. Doesn't matter. They can be great. It's just going to take a bit more time.
I really like how you framed that, and I completely agree with you. You just get so many glimpses of it, and it makes you hopeful for the future of this squad, and the potential that they have. Their ceiling, as you were saying, is very high if they can string together a couple more pieces. But for now, on offense, they're looking to close this one out, up 2-1. Respawns have been impressive for them. I mean, it was a tied game through the first set of rotations. Unfortunately, the slaying got a little too lopsided and really started to stagger that score line here. slaying a bit more even in the control. A couple of slow performances for either squad. But it's just coming down to Oklahoma State on defense, not letting Texas State have an opportunity or the ability to make a big play to open things up. On offense, they have been able to open things up for themselves, even if Texas State win this round. If Oklahoma State can get the A site, they have the ticks enough to secure round 5. Defense guaranteed. Texas State have to go big here if they don't want to push this to map number 4.
Oh, you're just trying to get this B site right now. You're just trying to capture the B site. Wilkes is the last one here. You still have Dakota there. The contestant's going to come in at the last second, and finally, they'll be able to capture it. Cash, here's the problem, though. I've seen this happen many times beforehand, where a team captures that B site, then they're forced to get back over towards A. Oh my god, that would have been disgusting if Wilkes finishes that kill, but Draco goes ahead and pairs for 2, clears out the spawn in its entirety, now looks to the top of the church and can just push this kill. Yeah, get out of dodge, hop to middle map, buddy. You're not beating Draco right now after he gets those 2 kills. But what I was going to say is it's so hard to be able to push this A site, just as it's hard to push that B site once one zone's been captured. It doesn't make your job any easier trying to get back to A.
It doesn't, but I love the route that Jinja's taking, because if you want a chance to get back to this A site, you have to influence spawns. Jinja is doing just that. If you can spawn these players over at P2 all the way in the back on that right-hand side of the map, you can give your team a little bit more of an advantage in that foot race to the A site. Jinja does try to hop into the site and get Mixie and gets cut down, so Texas State still having closed field spawns for the time being, but like you had said, you see so often, even on Gavitu, if you get the B site early, it's almost like more difficult to get the A site on transition, because you feel like it's just that close and you just can't make the opening or make the play that you need to get there. Texas State, they're holding on for dear life to push this to a round number 5 and doing just that. Oklahoma State unable to find the kills to kick things off.
I mean, these last few rounds have really been telling for both of these teams. It's been, these last desperate pushes from the offensive sides that have been shut down by defenses, and it's another one of the situations here where Texas State is able to right their wrongs of their previous defensive round and really put more of a statement win on this defensive side. Either way, though, Cash, I will say this. There are a few players on Texas State, specifically Tactic and Scripps, who are having relatively lackluster performances, but have had crucial moments, specifically Scripps and Tactic there at the end, being able to shut down basically by themselves that A site on the defensive side when the other teammates were across the map. The only thing I will say about Scripps specifically right now is that 31 deaths, it does not look great to me overall, especially with only having 21 kills to be able to combat that stat line. Same thing with Wilkish at 18 and 29. If you're going to play control and you're going to win control, you have to stay ahead of the life count.
You do, and for Texas State, I really think with how little success they found at the B site, I think they turn and burn like we're seeing here, and really try to turn this into a TDM where they can. Now, the lives are still favoring Oklahoma by 1, but for Texas State, we know they can turn up and slay. I think they need to do that and try to get this life advantage down to a drastic number.
Gosh, that boy was on a heady. He ripped him on the heady like that. Oh, no. Oh, no. Jesus. All right. Well, I'm going to calm myself down. 23-23. Minute and 50 left to be able to get back over towards that B site. Oklahoma State are trying to put a statement in the control. I just can't get over that. I want to see that again. That was sexy. Oh, Jinja goes for 2. Scripps with a trade. 1 life advantage for Texas State. You're coming off the respawn again if you are Texas State, though. So right now, Cash, the biggest question I have is if we go to a map number 4, can Oklahoma State prove to be futile when it comes to a hard point?
That is interesting to see and to look forward to as well. I do anticipate Oklahoma State taking this defensive round unless Texas State can get a big opening, which they, again, have yet to, and they're now third or second offensive attempt. They have yet to be able to find that. Third offensive attempt, but either way, they've yet to get the opening and get on the site. They don't have a tick of progression at B. Oklahoma State have been playing so locked, so as we look ahead and as, well, Texas State does get the opening, if we were to look ahead at map 4, if we get there, really for Oklahoma State, you're not done proving yourself and making a statement. You've got to figure out the futile there as well. But Scripps is turning and burning here on this B site. Oh my gosh, I thought he had that gunfight. Oklahoma State, they hold on for the time being, but 10 lives left in 40 seconds. It's one of the last couple of pushes here for Texas State. You got to go pretty quick.
I mean, Cash, to your point beforehand, you said that they were having trouble getting on the site, and that was absolutely true. Scripps was really the only exception to that right there. Caught 3 on his own. Unfortunately, there just weren't teammates close enough to be able to trade that out for himself. Jinja on the staircase will wrap all the way back down. That's great movement to get out alive. Only 22 HP. Scathe there. 5 lives separating the two teams. 15 seconds left. If you're going to push, you got to go now, but you got to go through the jaws of Jinja, who's found 2. You look down over towards the point. Shots to the top, though, from Pandemic are good. You look to the backside spawn. You know where they're going to be coming from. A beautiful stun there is going to be able to connect. Now you're looking over towards Church. Royal on the flank, though. Going to be able to find one with a nade. Another beautiful nade over the top off the spawn side. 3 versus 6. 10 seconds left. All the way back on the spawn side is player number 2. So it's a 2 versus 4 on the site. If you're going to go, you got to go now. You shut down Jinja. You shut down the second player as well. So that's 2 quick kills. You stop the timer at 3 seconds. Everybody is here. Basically a 3 versus 4 on the point. Scripps is going to be the first one to dodge out over towards that right side. You're going to be able to pick up the first one there. You get all the way back around to the rest of your teammates, but you got to be careful of the players coming through Church. Royal's there. Scripps now turning back around. Going to be able to find some shots in the back. Doesn't pepper up the player. Now you look to the radio side. Radio's going to be there, but you got to get on the point. You got to go for the contest. Around the corner, it's Scripps. You turn back around. You find the second. Oh my God! Texas State win that. What?
I cannot believe Texas State just pulled that off. It was 3v5. I know that's not that crazy.
You're trolling!
The ability to play their lives that well at the tail. Oh my gosh. Both of them won 2 critical 1v2s essentially. I mean,
cancel the season. Cancel the season.
We're not even in the postseason yet, Corn, and we're getting plays like this. I don't understand.
Dude.
If I'm Oklahoma State, I don't know. That's
Dude, I just got trolled on main, dude. There's no way. Like, there's literally no way, dude. What am I watching?
Texas State said, "Hold my beer." Like, honestly, they just went rogue and closed it out.
I mean, you got to tip that though from Texas State.
Like
to come down from there, like, dude.
With everyone with Pandemic finishing negative, I mean, it feels like how Oklahoma State played the hard point, like you had mentioned. That first half of that, everyone for Oklahoma State was negative, and it was a tied game. It's the same kind of thing where I guess it doesn't, especially for control more so than anything, but it's like it's not really how many kills you get around the map, because there are a lot of empty kills you can find. It's how impactful those are in your push. They found the right kills at the right time. They still had one player coming up off spawn in that 3v5 and somehow got it done. I can't believe it.
Not to mention, like, Oklahoma State, like, when they came off spawn, dude, they were tossing nades over the top of that building. Like, they connected on, yeah, that's what I'm saying. They connected on 2 of them. All of a sudden, we go back to where Texas State's just like, oh, well, we got to sprint across the map. It's 3 versus like 6. Here we come. All of a sudden, it's then just gunfights 1, and then everything is blown out of proportion. I don't understand it, but I love it. I'm here for it. This is what I needed going into College COD, because it might not be March anymore, but I guarantee you that the one thing that's going to hold true is these play-in games for seeding in terms of like going into the playoffs. One, they're going to be great, but it's going to be madness. It's for the play on words and everything else in between. If you weren't excited for CCL playoffs yet, that just moments like right those are going to continuously pop up throughout playoffs. If you're not following the Alpha, the Bravo channel, the College COD channel as well, and myself and Cash included, shameless plug. If you're not doing those things, I just don't know what you're doing. But dude, that was again, like, tippable to Texas State, like GG's, like that was sick. That was sick.
And it was a 3v5. I mean, how it went down, the player off spawn ended up finding a church, or a kill, what I believe is in church, and then it was, I think, Pandemic and Scripps, the last 2 on the site in a 2v4. They won 2 separate 1v2s on the site. I mean, if you're Oklahoma State, you were shooting fish in a bowl. They were down in the B side. All you had to do was shoot them. They had like no time to get off of it. So again, typical to Texas State, just the resilience to come back and win 2 straight rounds. They won their defense. They had to go back to an offense and win it. They won the first and only offense of that control, which for Tuscan is a little less common, but they get it done and win in a 3-0 fashion. Wow, just impressive from them. Like you said, if you're not excited for playoffs, that's reason why you should be if you didn't have any beforehand.
Well, that'll end things off here on the Bravo stream. That right there was probably the greatest ending that we could have had in a 3-0 series. Yep. at least here on Bravo. But Alpha is still going on right now. 206 to 202 is the actual score of the hard point right now between Westcliff and Arizona State. So if you want to watch the ending of that and potentially see a map number 5 between the number 5 and number 12 ranked teams in the CCL, you know where to catch it. That's over at twitch.tv/collegecod. Once again, if you are on your phone, well, you know, we're just going to be signing off here. So again, just let the viewership go over there. Scurry away. Go ahead. Sprint over there like little mice just running for its next meal. That's okay. Go. I want you to go over there and watch the ending of that game because I'm kind of watching it too on the side. So, Cash, it's been a pleasure. It was a great night here on Bravo, but we're going to wrap it up here. Guys, remember, College COD is the main Twitch channel. Go ahead over there and watch the finale between the number 5 and number 12 ranked teams. That does it for us tonight. Everybody stay safe. Have a fantastic day. We'll be back here on Bravo tomorrow for more collegiate Call of Duty at 7:30 Eastern. Have a great night. Go watch Alpha.